We're now joined here live this evening by former commercial director. It's Steve Sutherland. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening.
And what is it specifically you're doing at the moment? It's to do with the Upbeats, isn't it?
Well, I chair several committees. In fact, I was on Trust Business this afternoon because I'm chair of the Women's and Girls section, which is doing so well. As you all know the story of how we had to wind that up when we got relegated at the Premier League. And Paul Mortimer deserves an awful lot of praise because he's rebuilt the club. You know, we backed it into the trust when the club had to release it. And so I stayed as the sort of consistent factor, and so I'm chairing that. I also chair, which is probably one of the things I'm most proud about in everything I've ever done in football, I chair Street Violence Ruins Lives, which is the innovative anti-knife crime operation that the Trust set up on the back, really, of the tragic death of Rob Knox. So I chair that, and I also chair the Upbeats dinner committee. So, you know, I'm really pleased to be doing that. We had a very successful dinner last year in aid of the Rob Knox Memorial, and we thought, right, well, let's do one each year and let's pick a deserving aspect of the trust that we're going to do it for. This year it was an obvious one because everyone knows the Upbeats got an awful lot of funding last year from ITV's People's Millions, but that runs out in December. So it's a case of, do we stop all that fantastic work that's been going on, or do we try and raise the funds and help it carry on? So we're having a major fundraising dinner here in October.
Okay, and how much do they need to raise?
We want to raise about £30,000. You know, there's over 100 people take part in the project now, and it's not really just about football anymore. We're widening it out to other sports. And it's a phenomenal amount of work, and Carl Krauhaus of the Trust leads it, and it's a fantastic project, and we hope really people get behind it and help our fundraising. If they can't come to the dinner, then I think our friends at Charlton Life are going to help fundraise as well. So there's a big campaign that's coming around it now, and we'll gather that momentum as we build up to the dinner. You know, one of the things I'm really keen to carry on was when I left the club was my work with the Trust, because I'm just so proud of everything it does. It's huge, and it doesn't get a penny funding from the club. You know, sometimes on message boards, because you and I've often had conversations about this, Dave. But sometimes on message boards, when a story is about the South African project or something, and then someone will come on and say, "Why don't, you know, happy clappers? Why don't they buy a striker with his money?" It's absolutely separate funding. There is no financial link between the club and the Trust. So, you know, but what the Trust gives the club is builds this fantastic name for it, you know, and builds its reputation as a family community club, which is something that is so important for the club commercially anyway. Yeah, it's phenomenal, the work it does, whether that's in disability or education or health or crime or social inclusion projects. So yeah, they do an awful lot of good name, and they're all wearing the Charlton Athletic badge. You know, so when they're going into schools, when they're on housing estates, they're wearing the Charlton badge, and they're spreading that good reputation of the club.
So you touched on the anti-knife crime initiative that you were involved. What good could that do? A football club, what are they doing getting involved in anti-knife crime? But there were some positives from that, weren't there?
Oh, tremendous positives. This is one of the things, you start something and then it just grows. And I was commercial director at the time of the Rob Knox tragic murder, and it was in Sidcup. And Jason and I used to meet regularly and talk about projects. And I remember it vividly, we came into my office and we just said, can't we do something about this? Can't we use football to try and fight back in some way, in a positive way, and try and get to the kids before they get into this gang knife carrying culture? And we said, well, let's just arrange a meeting, and we arranged a meeting. We called the police, we called the Bexley Police, the Kent Police, Greenwich Police, Greenwich Council, Bexley Council, and sat them all round the table in the boardroom, and just said, look, I flashed up loads of images that were in the press, and I just said, can we help? Can we do something? Can we use the iconic status of football to try and fight back? And from that, Street Violence Ruins Lives, and we had that extremely emotional launch on the Reading match that season, which was 2008 season, 2008,
was,
which turned out to be my last season at the club, strangely. But we had that tremendous launch where all the funding partners and all the interested partners were on the pitch. We just about got them all in the photograph. It's huge. And from that now, we meet regularly. Senior police commanders on our committee. We fund street pastors. And the scheme is growing and growing and growing. We designed the logo in a way that not to be precious about it as Charlton, that any club could use it. And the idea was that it would grow into a kick racism out football project, because that started at Charlton as well. And I don't know if you knew that, but that huge project started at Charlton. And that's our plan for this. And Millwall joined forces with us last year because it's a very sad reason why this has had to be, but there's now an organisation called Families United, and that's sadly the families of victims of knife crime. So, and the Mizzen family are Millwall fans, so we came together at the Millwall game, and uniquely, and this is where the commercial partners play a part as well, both sets of commercial sponsors agreed to come off the shirts, and the logo went on the shirt. So yeah, other clubs are now looking, and the trust are talking to the Football League Trust about widening it out. You know, football can play such a big part, because a suit going into a school and talking about perils of knife crime, but a tracksuit going in, you know, that makes so much of a difference. Kids listen, and you know, we've got to try and get to them at an early age.
And if people want to get in contact with the Trust, they can do that via the website, which is www.cact.org.uk. That is the Trust's website. There you go. And so the Trust is also the stuff in South Africa, because that is huge for the Trust, isn't it? I mean, that's not
it's
just
been going in South Africa for a while, and that came out of a request from the government and the Met Police to help, for Charlton to help, and British Airways have sponsored that programme for quite a while, and it's a huge project that I know Jason particularly is extremely proud of it. It's not a project that I'm particularly involved with much, but on the periphery of it. But the one goal thing that I know Deb read out just before you started speaking to me, that's an incredible project, and I think it's sometimes easy just to flip through and read that and just go, oh, that's nice. But actually, for Charlton to be so integral to such a huge programme, the One Goal programme, really come out of the campaign that all the world leaders signed up to get the 72 million children who currently get no form of education at all into some form of education. And Peter was contacted and to see if he could help, because Peter's so well connected in the Premier League, to help to see if he could get all the Premier League clubs and some top European clubs to sign up to the campaign to use football again, using the iconic power of football, really. And Peter, being Peter, did just that. He got all the Premier League clubs signing up, and as well as the Scottish Premier League, and then other clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona and Porto and LA Galaxy. And then he also, from that, personalities in the game started to sign up to it as well, like Ronaldo and Essien and Rio Ferdinand and Bobby Charlton. Zheng Zi as well signed up to it, because Peter's still well in touch with Zheng Zi and Gao Chi, his agent, and Henri and Zinedine Zidane. They all signed up to it. It's fantastic. And as a result of that campaign, Peter negotiated a $250,000 deal with the Qataris. And it's actually the organisation that's recently called Malaga. Really? And the trust was appointed to run an education project during the World Cup called Education at Your Feet. Yeah. And this was a 2-week course attended by over 1,000 children from all of the real poor townships in South Africa. So what Peter and Jason did was they brought in Colchester's community director Steve Bradshaw to run it, and I don't know if you remember, but the website was showing some of the coverage, but the media coverage for this project, and Charlton being at the heart of it during the World Cup, was absolutely intense. Pep Guardiola actually stated in an interview that Spain would win the World Cup, and it was actually at a conference about Charlton's involvement with One Goal. So, and you've seen the recent announcements with Jagger and people like that. And when Jason was out there, he actually presented the project to President Zuma. No, it's a phenomenal project, and I know that Peter and Jason are extremely proud of it. And Ben Tegg was involved at the start. You remember Ben?
I remember Ben well, yes.
And Ben was the one who contacted Jason and Peter, and from that, you've got world leaders bigging up Charlton.
How have we managed to keep Jason in Charlton? Because he's been there for years. He's part of the
furniture.
he
is part of the furniture. It's,
he's obviously very good at what he does.
He clearly would have had opportunities to leave, but he's so proud of what achieved, and he rightly should be, because I love him to bits, but you know, the guy literally was parachuted in here with a bag of balls. And Arnie Warren was my old general manager at the time, who I loved to bits, Arnie, because he taught me so much. And Jason was so fond of Arnie as well, because Arnie brought him in and just put him in a corner and said, "Get on with it, son." And Jason, boy, did he get on with it?
He certainly did, didn't he?